to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the Netflix book tag. Is that what it's called? Yes, it is. I will put who it is originally created by down below. I wasn't tagged by anyone in particular, I just fancy doing it, so I'm going to do it. There are 12 questions, but one of them is to tag people, so 11 questions, because I'm not going to be tagging anyone. With some book recommendations. So just diving straight on in, the first question is, what book have you most recently finished? For me, I've been on a bit of a slump, so every book that I've read I've DNF'd. So the last book I actually finished was a while ago, and it was The Sad Ghost Club by Lize Meddings, I think. This was a beautiful graphic novel about a depressed ghost. It got a 3-star from me. I had a few problems with it personally. I feel like a story about depression and anxiety is very personal to individual people. Wasn't my favourite, but this was the last book I read. The next question is a book that you've been recommended based on a book you previously read. So for me, that would be The Modern Fairy Tales by Holly Black. This is the bind-up of the trilogy. I was told that I'd probably like this because of how much I like The Cruel Prince. It means that I would like Holly Black's writing style. This is kind of similar in what I heard about it being like in the fairy kingdom, kind of like those easy to read fantasy romances. So I haven't actually started this yet, and it's been on my TBR for a long time, but I do like Holly Black and I am excited to have more Holly Black content for sure. It's just because this is a bind-up of 3, it always looks so intimidating, even though I know it's not. I just can't bring myself to start. The next question is the book that you last bought. Well, I bought a few in one go, but I thought I'd just show one of those, and that is Ace of Spades by Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé. I should check that out before I started, but I picked this up because everybody has been talking about this recently. It sounds so good. It's set in like a boarding school, I think, and then has magic. I don't even know if it's got magic in it. I might just be making it up. I know that it discusses the conversation of racism, and apparently it does it very, very well. So I want to read it. I'm very excited to read it. I'm hoping to get to it quite soon. So yeah, one of my most recent purchases. Number 4 is 4 books that everybody knows about, 2 that you have previously read and 2 that you have no plans on reading. So for the 2 that I have read, I've picked probably the most hyped books ever to be on BookTube, and that is The Cruel Prince and Akatar. Well, I always talk about this one, and everybody always talks about this one. Both fantasy romances, both books I adored, and I think I gave 5 stars to both, maybe 4 and a 5. Loved them both fabulous series in general. Everybody talks about these, I'm sure you know. Clearly fantasy romance is something I like, we can already tell from this video. But 2 books that I probably won't read, I'm going to go from the same author because it's all I can think of. And those would be 2 books by Grady Hendrix. So I read this Survival Guide to Slaying Vampires or something like that. I hated it, I DNF'd it, I thought it was weird writing style for me personally. And I know a lot of people talk about his other books, especially My Best Friend's Exorcism, which I had interest in, but because of his writing style now I'm not really feeling it. And also his new book, The Final Support Group or something. I don't want to read either of those, and everybody seems to talk about them. So those are my 2. The next question, number 5, is a comedy or a funny book. And I'm embarrassed to say I scoured my shelves and cannot find one funny book. So I'm a little bit like annoyed because why don't I have any funny books? But clearly that just isn't my genre. So, I mean, there's some humour in some of the books, but they're not funny books, you know, not in any way, shape or form. So I'm kind of like, So I actually don't have a book recommendation for you on that one. But it has made me realise I need to pick up more comedy or funny books. So I will make that a mission of this coming year. So question number 6 is a character who is a drama king or queen, and I have gone with Crescent City's La Harbour. She's a fire sprite and she is extremely dramatic in this book. I love La Harbour with my whole being. She's fabulous. I think everybody who read this book loved her. But she is the definition of drama queen. She is the queen of drama queens. So I love her. I love her so much, and I love this book. If you haven't read it and you don't know who La Harbour is, I recommend you read it and find out. Number 7 is a book with cartoons on the cover, and I went with Disney Animated Classics Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. This is basically just one of those books where they redo the movie into a book, and you have like screenshots from the movie. So yeah, that's one of the only books I had with cartoons on it, because I wasn't sure if like I should include graphic novels because they're not cartoons, but they're animated. And I don't know if this is the same thing. Like, I don't know what the definition of a cartoon would be in this regards, but I'm gonna go with this. The next question is a book that you want to reread, and for me that is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I absolutely love this book. It is a dystopian with like weird body horror and set at a school on a isolated island. It was so good, and I have a lot of questions that I can't remember from this book and that I would really like to reread and find out from. So that'll be the mission, hopefully for the end of 2021, but if not, 2022 for sure, once I've got through this gigantic TBR of mine. Number 9 is a non-fiction book that you'd recommend to everybody. I don't read a lot of non-fiction, but there is one that I read recently that I have not shut up about, and that is The Salt Path by Raynor Winn. I really love this book. It is a memoir of two people who end up hiking the British Channel, which is like 630 miles or something, because they become homeless and they're middle-aged. This is quite the trek for them, and it just follows their journey. And there's another book that I own, The Wild Silence, which is like following on from this one. Just such a good book, and if you're into non-fictions at all, I fully recommend this one. The next question is an action-packed book, and I just had to go for this one, which I finished recently. Ready Player One. Now if you've read this, this will speak for itself. What a book. It is action-packed from the beginning to the end. It is non-stop. I cannot believe what I read. Like, it was so good. I'm really impressed with how much action they fitted into such a small book. I mean, it's got small words, but for being under 500 pages alone impressed me, and it's under 400. So this was definitely a very action-packed book. I recommend it for those of you who like action, but I'm sure most of you have read it already. If you have not, please may I encourage you to do so and let me know what you think. The final question is a book that recently released or will be releasing soon that you have read and would recommend, and that for me is The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. Now this came out just a couple of months ago. I think a lot of people have read it because Lynette Noni knows Sarah J Maas quite well, so there's been a lot of promotion around it. If you like Sarah J Maas's writing style at all, you are going to really enjoy this because they have very similar writing styles. And I would, if no one had told me what the author was, I would have guessed Sarah J Maas. This is such a good book. If you were into fantasy romance, or not even just fantasy romance actually, if you're into fantasy at all, this is a good one set at a prison with some impossible trials, rebellions, politics, what else? Everything basically. Magic. I absolutely loved it. It was full of twists and turns. I feel like you can never guess what's going to happen next. Thoroughly enjoyed, and I think for a new release this was so well received by everybody. Seen a lot of good things about it, more than I've seen most books, so highly recommend. So this video went very fast. The raw footage is only 12 minutes, so I'm not sure in post-editing how short this is going to be, but I really hope you enjoyed this very short video. I want to do more short videos so that this works out quite well, and I hope that you got some recommendations from this, or if you agree with any of my recommendations and you liked any of these books, let me know as well. And I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!